Hello, welcome. So today we're in r/slash best of Redditor updates, where OP's boyfriend schedules them in for a medical procedure on their nether regions. Trying to find a way to say that politely, without their knowledge. So yeah, if that sounds like something you'd be interested in listening to today, then stick around and enjoy. That felt like the weirdest sentence to ever say in my entire life. And don't forget to like and subscribe as well, please. So this post has been compiled by Direct Caterpillar 77, and the title is My 24F Boyfriend 26M of 1.5 years just scheduled and paid for a medical procedure for my lady regions without my knowledge or consent. What now? Well, you got a few options. I hear that saucepans are really good to make a nice hard connection. You could try throwing books. That works too. So the original post was posted on January 29th, 2018. Hello all. My boyfriend and I have been together for a year and a half. Overall, things are good. Occasionally, he has been overbearing, but he's working on it and has made great strides of improvement. We're living together for around 6 months. The background: I have a mole on the outside of my V. It's about the size of a pencil eraser. It's never been a problem for me, and I don't mind it. It's hidden in even the skimpiest of bikinis. It doesn't hurt or get in the way of anything. Isn't lumpy. Doesn't grow any weird hair. It's just a harmless little lump on the side of my V. I don't know if I can say that word, by the way, without YouTube trying to suppress my video, considering it's like only the first few minutes. So I'm going to have to just say V. That I've had since I was born. Even when I'm entirely nude, it isn't visible unless my legs are spread. Oh my god, the mental images, OP. Can you not? Even when I'm entirely naked, it isn't visible unless my legs are spread. Okay. So it's the kind of thing only me and my S partners have ever seen. I've had an inkling that my boyfriend has never been a fan of this mole, but he won't admit it. Sometimes he'll absent-mindedly rub it between his fingers with his nose crinkled, like an expression just short of disgust. But when I asked him about it 2 different times, he insisted the not quite disgusted facial expression was unrelated. What? What a weird thing to do. I assumed that he didn't like it, but knew it was none of his business or concern and probably didn't want to say it because he didn't want to sound rude. Well, I'm not being funny. If he's trying not to show that he doesn't like it, he's being about as subtle as a flaming pink elephant in an empty room. Sitting there rubbing it with a disgusted look on his face. Of course you're going to pick up on that. He's asked me once if I've ever thought about removing it, to which I replied that it's always been a part of me and I wasn't interested in removal. Yeah, exactly. I do not understand this quest for perfection all of the time, especially in an area where nobody flaming sees it. Like, I don't understand that. I have a scar in the middle of my forehead from where I had an accident when I was a kid, and I'm laughing because it was the most stupid accident ever. And it's such a funny story in a really gross and horrific way as well, because it eventually dug right into my skull. That's how far down the injury went, and now I have a scar in the middle of my forehead. I also have a scar underneath my eye, which makes me look like I have one really puffy eye bag under my eye sometimes if I'm not, sleeping enough or I'm not wearing makeup or stuff like that, which quite often I don't wear makeup because why bother? Where I got a brick thrown at me when I was like 6 by some teenage boy who thought he was big and hard. Like, yeah, he threw a brick at a 6-year-old girl. What a weirdo. So yeah, I have scars, and I have scars everywhere. I'm so accident prone as well. I have scars literally everywhere. And I'm like, I never even give them a second thought. And if somebody come to me and was like, oh, I don't like the scars on your face, or I don't like the scars that you have on your body, well, they could go and swing. Like, see you later. Problem solved. They're gone. So you don't have to worry about it. I don't understand this incessant search for perfection that seems to be getting worse and worse. And I swear it's gotten worse since the invention of 1, Instagram, and then 2, exponentially gotten worse since TikTok. I have noticed so many more girls like the age of 20 odd going and having things like facelifts. A facelift. I don't even need a facelift, and I'm 33. I certainly don't need a facelift at my age. So what on earth is a early 20-year-old needed a flaming facelift for? But obviously, as you can tell, I can get on my soapbox. So we're going to continue with the post before I ramble for too long. The problem? My birthday was a few weeks ago. I've been getting Brazilian waxes since I was a teenager. It's just my personal preference. As a birthday present, my boyfriend prepaid for almost a year's worth of waxes at the med spa I've always gone to. This seemed like a great gift. Useful, thoughtful, and saves me a ton of money. This med spa does a variety of other services as well as waxing. They do tattoo removal, laser hair removal, makeup tattoos, Botox. I've had a standing appointment there every 3 weeks for years. This morning, I went to my regular appointment, and my waxer, who I've known for years, gushed about how kind my boyfriend was to call in for my services, and we went about the wax as normal. There's an oil she uses that helps to soothe the skin after the wax, and I was waiting for that to soak in when she brought out a wand, and that I was not familiar with. I asked what it was for, and she said, the freezing. I assumed she was prepping for her next client and stayed on the table. She then began wiping the oil off and applied a cream directly over my mole. At this point, I sat up and I asked her what she was doing. Oh, this is cream to numb the area before I freeze the mole. Then we'll cut it off, and then you'll just need a stitch or two and a bandage, and then you'll be ready to go. I cannot believe that this guy has just decided to book this in without even telling her. This is actually really disgusting, I think. And I think this is a warning sign for the future of the relationship. But we'll read on, although I already have my very, very stern opinions on this. We fumbled through the awkward conversation that followed, and the bottom line is that my boyfriend had paid for the mole to be removed as well, $200, without telling me. The receptionist who books the appointments assumed that I knew, and I sign a yearly waiver for all services from them, so it was basically just slipped in. This is so wrong. The receptionist said that my boyfriend asked about the process over the phone, so he was aware that this procedure involved cutting something off my body and would involve anesthetic and stitches. I just can't fathom why he thought this was okay to do. Guys, I am furious. I cannot tell if my reaction is justified or if I'm seeing red for no real reason. This feels like such a breach of my personal boundaries, not to mention disrespectful of my bodily autonomy. That's because it absolutely is. Nobody at all should ever be booking in for what is a cosmetic surgery for yourself other than you, unless you have explicitly asked for someone to work on your behalf for this. Like, some people aren't very good at communicating and whatnot and want to make sure they get like the right details, and the doctor that they're dealing with has the right details, and they want to make sure that that's all done above board. So obviously then they get someone to advocate for them. But unless you have actually explicitly expressed that you want a procedure done, nothing should ever be booked in, paid for, and they certainly shouldn't start doing it without even discussing it with you at the procedure. Anytime I've ever had to have any procedure, in fact, I had to have a biopsy on my tongue about 2 years ago, and when they did it, even though I knew full well what I was going in for, I'd already signed my medical waivers beforehand, the consultant that did the procedure still stood there and went through everything with me before they started face to face in the room on that day, because I could have changed my mind and decided I didn't want to do it, you know? And then if they hadn't have obviously had a word with me and made sure that I was okay with everything they were doing, then they could get into a lot of trouble. Although, to be fair, I'm not surprised that they aren't doing it above board, to be honest with you, because you shouldn't be going to anybody but a doctor for anything that involves cutting things off your body. Like, you shouldn't be going to someone who does waxing and Botox. You know, I find that pretty concerning that someone who is doing flaming waxes and manicures is also trying to cut things off your body. I don't think the two should ever mix, really. That's not a qualified doctor. No one but a qualified doctor should ever cut something and remove it from your body. And do you know what? Do you know why? One, they're not medically trained that way, for a start, obviously. Two, when you have something removed from your body, whether it is for the purpose of biopsy or just for aesthetic reasons, a doctor will send it off to pathology and they will make sure there is nothing untoward in that sample. So then, if you're not going to someone who is an actual doctor for a procedure, you are not getting those things. So there could be something like cancer inside of that mole, obviously. Touch wood, there's not. But there could be, and it would be completely missed. And the thing with that is, if you don't cut off the lot of it and take off, I think they say they do, like, I can't remember what the border is now on a biopsy of, or when they're removing something that they think might be concerning, but they take off a good margin outside of the area of the thing to make sure that they have every last cell that they think they need to get, so they're not leaving anything concerning behind, you know? And again, just the fact that your boyfriend's just gone ahead and done this without asking you, I think is extremely worrying for the future of your relationship. Like, what's he gonna think he can do next without your permission, you know? Anyway, I know it's small, but it's plastic surgery. There is no medical backing to having this mole removed. It would be entirely cosmetic. I obviously didn't go forward with the procedure, and now I'm struggling whether my anger is appropriate to the situation. I have not talked to him about this yet. It happened this morning, and I will be seeing him this evening when I get home from work. Right now, I'm thinking of breaking up with him, but feel like that may be an overreaction, and I can't tell if my judgment is clouded. What would be an appropriate way to address this situation? TLDR, I have a small, inconspicuous mole on the side of my V. Boyfriend isn't a fan of it, but I had no interest in getting it removed. He paid for a year's worth of Brazilian waxes that I've always gotten for my birthday and tried to slip a mole removal procedure into my usual appointments without telling me. I was blindsided as they were about to start. This procedure involved anesthetic, cutting the mole off, and stitches on my V. I am livid and feel so disrespected. Can't tell if I'm overreacting for considering dumping him. Help. Personally, if I had a partner and they booked me in for a cosmetic surgery on my nether regions that I did not agree to, did not want, and never ever asked for, I would be leaving them in a very quick hurry because, again, I think it's a concerning warning sign for what's to come in the relationship and what he seems to think that he should be able to do. In situations where people end up in relationships with people who do not have their best interests at heart, it always starts with something small and what you could see as maybe being just insignificant. Oh, they didn't mean it bad. They were just trying to be helpful. But it's not. And it's always a red flag. And it's so easily missed and so easily brushed aside. But I think anybody trying to book you in for a cosmetic surgery without your permission should be given a big old arm's length. Because, yeah, that is just so wrong on so many levels. So then some relevant comments from the original post. Charlesy Bub says, okay, everyone has the whole livid at him and dump him covered, and I'm just going to talk about moles. Getting moles removed is a big deal and something that should only ever be talked about with actual medical doctors and dermatologists. Yeah, exactly. Getting something cut off at a spa by your waxer is terrifying to me. Who was going to stitch you up? The manicurist? Jeez. Things can go wrong with moles so easily, and dermatologists recommend leaving them alone unless they're in a place where they get irritated a lot. So glad you didn't get it removed. Leave them be, but do get them checked by a dermatologist periodically. Yeah, exactly. Exactly what I said. It is just so baffling to me that the person who waxes legs was going to do a cosmetic procedure on you. Like, what? OP says, to be fair, med spa is a term for a plastic surgery centre. They do a whole range of small plastic surgery, and a licensed plastic surgeon would have been doing the actual removal of the mole. My waxer was just prepping the equipment for the surgeon. I would check on that because I did a little research into med spas because in a previous video, med spas were brought up and I had no bloody clue what they were. So I looked into them and oh my God, are they dodgy as hell. They are so dodgy, they'll tell you they've got an actual surgeon or whatever working there. Quite often, it's absolute bullcrap. And I'm not being funny, but even in the case of if it was a real plastic surgeon, I still wouldn't want a waxer prepping the medical equipment. That should be for a nurse, you know, a qualified nurse or an anaesthetist or, you know, someone along those lines, someone who's medically trained. Because again, the equipment is just as important as the person doing the procedure. Like, what? I think OP is a little bit naive here about this. These horror stories I have read from med spas over the last couple days is insane. Actually insane. I think there was one woman, and I can't remember her name, but I am sure a good few of you will know who this is as well. She went to a med spa for some sort of procedure. Can't remember what it was. It was something that involved injections or something, and she's ended up with what's it called? It begins with M and it's a bacteria and it's under her skin and she has had it now for a long time and it is resisting antibiotics. She has to get nodules cut out all the time. She has to be hooked up to IV antibiotics and things like that, and IV medications just constantly. And this has been going on for a long time now. Essentially, she has a flesh-eating bacteria that she cannot get rid of. So yeah, med spas, do not trust them for plastic surgery or anything in between. Anyway, back to the post. I began going there for laser hair removal of my armpits as a teenager. After having a bad waxing experience at a normal salon, I decided to stick with the med spa because it felt a lot more professional and cleaner. I have no plans on getting it removed by anyone though. I'll definitely be leaving it where it belongs, haha. Yeah, I'm so glad you are leaving it, but yeah, definitely look into those med spas a little bit closer, OP, because I'm not sure that you've got the information correct there. Or at least that's what they tell you, but quite often that is not how they're actually running, and a lot of them are very concerning, to say the least. Sabra J says, bruh, what the hell? I understand some people are squeamish about moles and other skin defects, but he hasn't expressed that. You asked him about it, already confirmed you're not interested in removing it. He said it's not an issue, and then this? I would be peed off as well. I have a low tolerance for stunts like this, and I personally would walk. He's blatantly ignored your wishes, and I guess he was hoping that you'd either A, be so happy and grateful that your boyfriend wants to make you better, gag. I second that gag. Or B, you'd realise how much he doesn't like it, and out of embarrassment or the duty of being a good girlfriend would go through with it. Good riddance to that $200, jerk. OP says, the thing that sucks is that I considered the second option for longer than I'd like to admit. I suddenly felt very ashamed and ugly and like I needed to be fixed. I started crying a little and felt stupid. Now that I've had a few hours to think about it, I think I'm most upset at how it made me feel. Yeah, exactly. If someone books you in for a cosmetic procedure without you knowing, you're going to just sit there and think, oh my God, they think I'm gross, you know? You are going to feel like that, but don't feel like that because it's a flaming mole and he needs to grow up. And we have an update. So January 30th, 2018, this was the next day. The update says, first off, I just want to thank everyone for their support and validation of what I was feeling. I was second guessing myself and feeling like I was overreacting. But after more reflection and what happened later on in the evening, I feel so vindicated in my anger. Oh, what did he do to make it worse then, hey? I got home and he nonchalantly asked me how my appointment went. I managed to stay calm and told him how angry I was that he had tried to arrange for the mole to be removed without my consent or knowledge, especially because I found out that he was informed while booking the appointment that it would involve anaesthetic and stitches. He said that he wasn't sorry because he thought that he was doing me a favour by forcing me to bite the bullet and get it done. He said the only thing that he was sorry about was signing my name on the waiver because he knows he should not. So he fraudulently signed your name. That's even worse. This just gets better and better, doesn't it? Yeah, so he basically felt bad for signing your name because he knows you should not have done that. You could actually report him for that, I'm almost certain, because that's like fraud with malicious intent of like harming your body in a way you didn't consent to. Like this is very, very... It's got a very nasty undertone to it. Record scratch. Wait, what? At my appointment, my waxer had said something along the lines of, but you signed the waiver. When I was blindsided by her prepping for the mole removal. She was confused that I was not aware of the mole removal plan. I had assumed that she was talking about the waiver I had signed just a few weeks ago, which obviously must have been the one for the waxing, that I have to sign every year for my services performed at the med spa. I was in a hurry to get out of there, so I didn't press further, just made it clear that I did not want a mole removal and gathered my clothes and left. So yeah, see what I mean? That med spa is obviously doing dodgy practices because they never even checked and made sure who was signing the waiver. If you are signing a waiver for a medical procedure, I'm almost certain you really should be doing it when there is somebody there and present from the place that you're planning to have it done, so they can be sure that it's you signing and saying okay to the procedure. I don't think I've ever had a procedure where the doctor hasn't stood there and watched me sign it personally, or the nurse. And I think that that's a way that they can make sure then that you're not being coerced into doing things. So again, clearly these med spas should not be used. As it turns out, she was not talking about the annual general waiver. When my boyfriend booked the appointment, a waiver was emailed over, which he signed as me and sent back to them. We are in a South American country where plastic surgery is extremely common. I am the only woman in my office without breast implants. I was born in America and I haven't quite subscribed to this aspect of the culture, so things are a lot more lax here than I imagine they are in the US. So not only did he schedule and pay for plastic surgery on my V, he forged my signature on a legal document giving permission for it to be done. Yeah, that is so scary, and I'm so glad you haven't gone and got the old bazonka bloody implants as well. Because yeah, if everyone keeps having plastic surgery, we're all gonna look the same, and it's all gonna be very, very boring. There is no coming back from this, and I told him so. He started crying and saying that he just wanted me to be the most beautiful I could be. Oh my goodness! Get out of here, you absolute poo tube. What is wrong with this man? Thankfully, I was too angry to cry in front of him and just told him to leave. He packed some clothes and I put the rest of his belongings in a detached garbage that he has a key to. I made him leave his house keys and told him that the garage locks would be changed by the end of the week. I own the house and am changing the locks on the doors this evening. Except for the garage, I'm giving him this week to clear out the rest of his things from there. I have him blocked on social media and I feel very refreshed and like a weight has been lifted. Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad you left him. So often people will just let the nastiest crap go by on the wayside and just be like, oh, he didn't mean it. Oh, he's just trying to help. Oh, it's a blip. It's never a blip and it never works out in the end, or the person just stays with them and remains miserable forever. I'm sure I will be hurting later and missing him, but this showed me a side of him that I absolutely cannot live with. I may not be as tan or as smooth or as busty as all the women around here, but I deserve better. I know that much. And now my mole and I are going to settle down with a bottle of wine and download Tinder. I love that. Thank you again for everything. TLDR, my boyfriend was unapologetic for arranging a surprise plastic surgery appointment that he knew I did not want, and it came to light that he had forged my signature on a waiver for this procedure. I dumped him, kicked him out of my house, and plan on living a long, happy life with my mole. Thank you all. Yeah, I'm so glad you left, because honestly, staying in a relationship with someone that picks apart your appearance will do nothing but ruin you. I know that from personal experience. I've been single for many years now, and there is a very good reason why. The last person I was with was absolutely foul about my appearance for no reason, absolutely no reason, and they have no reason to talk, let me tell you that. Just picked everything apart after I'd had my last kid and I'd put on a bit of weight, picked it apart and said I was disgusting and all this lot and was just really horrible about it. And I now have the mindset of I've never put myself at risk of that again, so I'm just not going to date. So clearly, it can very much ruin the way you view dating, yourself, and everything in between. So I'm so glad you got out of it. I'm so glad you have a good outlook and that you're still happy with the way you look. There is nothing wrong with having a mole. There is nothing wrong with having multiple moles. There is nothing wrong with looking different from other people. I genuinely love when people have their own look, their own style. You know, they're unique. I look for that in the people that I deal with. I don't want to be around people that are just a carbon copy, Barbie spit out of, you know, what's in style this season. Bodies should never be in fashion. You know, body shapes and styles should never be a fashion. That is so weird. We're not genetically made to be the same. It's so odd. TLDR, my boyfriend was unapologetic for arranging a surprise plastic surgery appointment that he knew I did not want, and it came to light that he had forged my signature on a waiver for this procedure. I dumped him, kicked him out of my house, and plan on living a long and happy life with my mole. Thank you all. Relevant comments. OP's replies to a couple of deleted comments. OP. He's always chuckled at my aversion, his word not mine, to plastic surgery because it's so common here. He's asked me in the past if I would ever consider a breast implant or a nose job, etc., in the exact same way that he asked if I would ever get my mole removed. I'm not morally opposed to a plastic surgery. I just never really thought that there was anything wrong with my boobs or nose. So I feel like this was the tip of the iceberg. I feel like this was pushing my limits to see if he could convince me to change these other things. So I'm not feeling too great at the moment and kind of feeling like I can't tread water with all these gorgeous women. Ugh. Yeah, that'll definitely leave you feeling like that. Like, oh my goodness. Yeah, you're definitely going to feel a little bit scarred for a while. But you'll get there. You'll get there. You'll learn to be completely happy with yourself again because there's nothing wrong with you. You don't need boobs and nose and all this sort of stuff. Like, it's ridiculous. And it's so sad that everyone seems to think that they desperately need it these days. I think it's just different cultural beauty ideals. I grew up in America, but have been in Brazil for 6 years. Why did I know it was going to be Brazil? Why did I know? I go back to the Upper West Coast for the US for about 3 weeks once a year, and I can tell that I'm a lot cuter there than I am here, if that makes sense. Haha. The heavily enforced beauty ideal here is like Kim Kardashian if she were in Baywatch. My American friends I've told this to have been outraged. My Brazilian friends just laughed and said that they wish that their boyfriends would pay for their procedures, lip fillers, etc. I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone occasionally, which probably contributed to me doubting the validity of my initial anger. Do you know, I watched like a little docuseries not long ago about like cosmetic procedures and stuff, because I love watching surgeries, by the way. I don't know why. I'm a weirdo, obviously. But I like watching surgeries be done. So I like watching like the cosmetic surgeries and all. I just find it interesting to see how they're done. And it was like a little series, and they were saying that, like, they were saying how like Brazil is one of the biggest places for like cosmetic surgery and all that lot, like really high statistics in the amount of women going under the knife. And yeah, so as soon as she was like, oh, it's a country where it's basically expected for it to happen, I just had a feeling it would be Brazil. Colsey comments, for what it's worth, I know a few Americans that have worked in South Korea, and the beauty standards that exist there can be a nightmare. If it helps, you should always remind yourself that from what you've said, many of the women you compare yourself to likely didn't get there by natural means. OP. I have a friend who teaches in South Korea, and I've heard that as well. Down here, it's all tanning beds, butt fillers, and rib removals. Oh my goodness. Do you think you get to keep the rib though? Like make a nice little necklace out of it or something? I'm petite, slender, and pale, so I get asked if I'm sick almost daily. That's not nice. Oh, way to knock your confidence about. Fem0879 says, looks like she got a better surgery. Shite bag boyfriend removal. Edit. I've never been so proud of a comment thread. I'm guessing that all the comments were basically just people absolutely dumping on this guy, and I approve of that message. And then Illustrious Complex 6 says, in regards to the boyfriend removal, recovery time will be quick. And then the Dreamer Dream says, and no stitches needed. Banana Pinstripe says, depends. The gall he had when he said he wanted to force her to bite the bullet nearly had me in stitches from hysterical laughter. Yeah, like, did he really think that that was ever going to work? I fear this man has no brain cells, and I'm concerned about how he is actually up and about, walking, breathing, and moving, to be quite honest with you. And on that note, we're going to leave it there with a little message of never change yourself for anybody else, because believe you and me, that person is never going to actually cherish you and treat you the way you deserve to be anyway. Anybody who wants to come into your life and change you didn't deserve to be in your life at all. And also, why on earth are they there? Why did they come into your life and then all of a sudden want to change you? They came into your life knowing what you were like. They could have left. Let them leave. Help them along. Kick them out. So yeah, anyone ever in a similar situation like that, take what this OP did as some inspiration and kick that absolute loser to the curb. Okay, so if you've made it to the end of the video, I very much appreciate you. If you'd like to leave a like and subscribe, I'd appreciate it even more. And I do post daily, so it'll help you come back here. Other than that, I hope you're having a really good rest of your day, whatever it is you're doing. I'm going to get off. I am starving, and I kept having to pause while I was recording so that the noise of my stomach absolutely complaining would not overtake this whole recording. Goodbye.